are the champion, the one that holds the line and finishes the mission. Everything that you want is within your grasp. You wake up in the morning ready to dominate the day, and every step taken is with purpose and integrity. Because you were not put on this planet to live a mediocre existence. You are here to conquer and make the biggest impact possible, not only for yourself, but for your family and for your tribe. This world is a battlefield, and we will be victorious. This is the Norse mentality.
What's up, guys? I hope that you are having a glorious day. At the time of this recording, we have one more week left of 2022. And me and Cody were reflecting on the past year, thinking about everything that we've accomplished, also thinking about the things that we didn't accomplish. It's good to take note of both. And we decided to do an episode about that because I think that is the most important thing that we can do at the end of the year, especially in this colder season. Everything's slowing down, nature's slowing down, even with work. A lot of people are not working as much because the holidays, they're spending time with their family, which I absolutely love. We're doing the same thing here at Norse. So what can we do in that time? How can we still be productive? How can we still be moving forward? It's reflecting. It's taking note of what we've accomplished, the victories that we've had, and then kind of taking note of, okay, well, this is where I fell short. But here's the thing with that. Do not beat yourself up. Maybe you didn't get as much done over the past year as you wanted to, but that's okay. That's how life works. Maybe this whole year has been an upwards battle. I know I've definitely had years like that. Years after years of that, actually, where it's just like, I cannot catch a fucking break. But guess what? We keep climbing. We keep climbing to the top, and eventually you get there. Maybe that's been the past year for you. It's just been one foot in front of the other, just trying to get to the other side of it. And because of that, you did not accomplish the goals that you set for yourself in the beginning of 2022. That's okay. But what we can't do here is beat ourselves up, because when we beat ourselves up, if we do that for too long, our energy levels are going to decrease. We're going to fall into depression. And once we fall into depression and self-hatred, that's the dangerous part there, self-hatred. When we start beat ourselves up and we start falling into self-hatred, that is such a bad place to be in.
Yeah, now's not the time to be punitive.
No, now's the time to start filling yourself with strength. It's starting to flip that switch, right? It's that mental switch. That's what I like about the whole New Year's thing. A lot of people talk shit about it, but there's a mental switch there, and it's awesome. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. If anything allows you to, if anything gives you motivation to better yourself, I love it. I don't give a shit what it is. I don't care what your personal thing is, but across the board, everyone gets pretty stoked around New Year's because it's kind of like a fresh start. It's not at all. It's just another day. It's a day that man has created. And yeah, there's like cycles and shit like that with the universe. But either way, it's just another day. But there's a mental switch there. And that mental switch gives us motivation. It fills us full of power. And that's what we want to be doing during the next week or so as we move into 2023. We want to start, well, first, we want to start kind of slowing down. That way we can start building that energy reservoir back up. It's like a battery, right? Like, we have to take time to recharge. We can't be at 100% all the time. We're going to drain ourselves. Well, this is the perfect opportunity to just chill, sit back, relax, enjoy the time with your tribe. That way, once January gets here, you're ready to fucking rock and roll because you've taken that downtime that you needed so much to reflect and also just recharge.
I think a lot of people, when the new year rolls around, they set goals for themselves for 2023, as everyone should. But I think because they are so busy at the end of the year with Christmas time, with the holidays, with New Year's, that there is no time for that. And that's why we reach a lot of burnout in January when people, like the New Year's resolutioners, kind of just fade out super quick. It's because they didn't take the time to sit back and reflect and be grateful of all they've accomplished for the past year and the changes they've made and the good they've done. They just kind of, it's still busy season for them. So when January comes around and they hit the ground running, you know, with these ambitious goals that everyone has, they reach burnout super quickly
I
because
agree.
they didn't take that time to recharge and let the past year kind of rush them with gratitude and all that they've accomplished and the better person that they've become.
That's definitely one of the reasons. I think another reason that they reach burnout so quickly is because they overstack their plate, especially when it comes to physical fitness. I'm going to start dieting. I'm going to start working out. I'm going to start doing this. I'm going to start doing this. I'm going to start doing this. And that candle gets burned so quickly. It's one thing at a time. That's what I always tell people. They come into the Norse compound. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm like, bro, like the first step was coming in here. Okay, cool. Now just come here consistently for the next 3 months. Eat healthy, but don't worry about a whole diet plan. Just get into the habit of working out. Then once you develop that habit and it's not part of your identity, then we move on to the next part. But people don't do that. They try to tackle 20 things at once. It's like, well, you weren't doing anything prior. So how do you expect to be able to handle all of that on your plate now?
Especially when it comes to working out, man.
You're not going to.
If you haven't been on a decently strict diet, if you haven't been on a consistent workout plan, if you haven't been taking care of yourself physically at all, and you think 2023, just because it's January 1st, you can jump head first into all three of those things at once and be successful with it, you need to understand what you're getting into.
Well, you also need to understand that you are still the same person that you were yesterday. You haven't been able to do this up to this point. What makes you think that you're just going to wake up tomorrow and be able to take on all this?
Drastic changes.
Yeah, like it's not going to happen, but that's okay, right? That's the reason we set goals, is to become a better version of ourselves. So that's cool. Like, it's embracing that. Okay, like right now I can't do all this, and that's okay. No problem. That's what I'm working towards. That's the end goal, right? Like, embrace that whole process. It's getting started. It's realizing that I'm not strong enough yet to do this, but with consistent action, I can get to that point. That's all that matters. It's just putting in the work. The end goal doesn't mean anything. It's the process. It's the journey. It's becoming someone different, someone better as you're climbing to the top of the mountain. That's the best way that I can put it. As you're climbing to the top of the mountain, it's that journey upwards that you really transform yourself. And then once you get to the top, it's like, hey, sick. What's next? Oh, look, that mountain's even higher. I'm going to climb to the top of that motherfucker next. Then you get to the top of that one. It's like, well, where's a bigger mountain? I want to go there. That's how it is with goals. It's not the goal itself. It's the process of becoming someone better as you're working towards that goal.
That's the coolest part about self-improvement for me.
Oh, it's the best part
once
for sure.
Once you like, to go with your example, once you climb that first mountain, everything you've learned on the way, that stays with you, man. Like you figure that out. You figure what works for you to make that next climb, that next goal, that next hike, journey up the mountain that much easier.
But we needed an endpoint. Like, otherwise we're just kind of drifting aimlessly. So that goal, that's kind of like, okay, this is where I'm heading. All right, like I know where I'm heading now. Okay, cool. What's the quickest way I can get there? What do I need to do in order to get to this endpoint? But the endpoint doesn't matter. It's that journey there because you're improving yourself on that journey. And if you're just getting started with anything, it's just one step at a time. Okay, I'm not working out right now. No problem. I'm going to start going to the gym 3 days a week because that's better than nothing. And then after you do that for a little bit, now I'm going to crank it up to 4 days a week. Okay, I'm feeling good about this. I don't have to drag myself into the gym anymore. I think that's the best indicator that now you have a habit of working out is when you no longer have to drag yourself in there. It's just something that you do. Pretty much every day that I work out, I don't want to. Sometimes if I'm just in a really awesome mood, I'm like, yes, I can't wait to go work out. But that's very rare. The majority of the time, it's like, let's go and bang this out.
I got shit to do.
Right? Like, but I need to work out. Once it gets to that point where it's just something that you do, then it's like, okay, what's next? I now have a habit of working out. This is who I am. This is part of my identity. Well, now I want to start eating healthier. I want to be the type of person that doesn't eat fast food anymore. So you eliminate fast food, you eliminate soda and stuff like that. You stop eating candy. Those little small steps there. You start meal prepping. Well, now you're just someone that meal preps, like me and you. Neither of us have any desire to compete in anything. You want to maybe do Muay Thai one day,
Muay Thai,
right?
yeah.
But as far as like bodybuilding or
powerlifting.
Yeah, like powerlifting, neither of us give a shit about that, but we both meal prep. Like, you don't have to be a competitor in anything in order to just live a healthy lifestyle. Like, this is something that everyone should be doing, especially in the modern age with how busy we are. Because if you do not set yourself up for success by meal prepping in advance, then you have to resort to eating shit because that's what's easy and that's what's available. Well, I didn't eat anything yet today. I guess I'll go over here to Taco Bell or whatever people do, right? But it's one step at a time, and it's acknowledging that you are becoming a better person. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters. But with that being said, over the past year, have you become a better person? There's a 99% chance that yes, you have. In some sort of way, you are a better person. And if you are, to any degree, then the past year has been a major success for you because you're better. That's all that matters. It's not the materialistic items that you obtain. It's not this achievement or that achievement. None of that shit really fucking matters. The only thing that matters in this life is, am I becoming a better person every day until I die? Whenever I take my final breath, did I try my best to live life to the fullest, to become the best version of myself? And as your final days get here and you're reflecting later on in life, I think that's the only thing that we're going to give a shit about. I don't know. I'm only 31 or 30 or 32. I don't even know how old I am, right? But either way, that's how I try to think about it, is what does 90-year-old Andy want? Because I'm just setting future me up for success anyways. Like everything I do, it's setting future me up for success. When it comes to this business, well, I want this business to be as big as possible. How do I set Norse up for success in the future? When I'm working out, that's not for right now. It makes me feel good, endorphins and shit like that. But at the end of the day, it's like I want future me to be healthier. What does 90-year-old Andy want? That's a good question to ask ourselves. What do I want when I'm old? What do I need to do to make sure that I feel accomplished? Is it making $1 million? No. You're not going to give a fuck about that. Did I have this house? Did I have this car? None of that shit matters. It's who did I become in this life, in this short period of time that I was put on this earth? Who did I become? I started off here, and now at the very end, this is what it looks like. And if you're someone that came from a fucked childhood and you started off at the bottom, like we did, for example, my childhood wasn't fucked. That's not the right word to use. But it was a little rough at times. It was
not ideal.
Right. At times it wasn't ideal. I had an amazing dad. I had great grandparents and shit, all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, like, times were rough. And I'm grateful for that. Very grateful for that. There's nothing that I'm more grateful for because that made me into who I am today. But either way, like, I had to work myself. I had to build from the bottom up. Whereas in some people, they may have started off with more. I'm glad I didn't. Because when I am 90 and I am at the top, because I will be, that's what I want to remember. I want to look back on my entire life and be like, I started off with fucking nothing. And I made myself into who I am now. And it took 90 years for me to do that. But what better way to spend my life than working on myself? So if the past year you've grown even 1%, awesome. Good for you. Pat yourself on the back. And I promise you, you have in some sort of way, even if it just feels like you've been dealing with difficulty after difficulty. Good. That's the best thing that could have happened to you during this year. Who cares about the goal? Who cares about the achievement? That doesn't matter. It's like we were saying, it's that journey up the mountain. Well, that journey up the mountain is difficult. It's those challenges that you face on your way up that build you into a better person. Well, that's the only reason we set goals in the first place, is to become a better person. So if you've had a full year of just dealing with shit, that's the best thing that could have happened to you, because you are now stronger. Because in order for you to overcome these challenges, you had to have some sort of strength that you probably did not have before. That's why we have challenges in life. Life gives us what we need. And sometimes life gives us shit to overcome, because that's the only way that we're going to improve. How dare you cough on this podcast?
Sorry,
you
guys.
Son of a bitch.
I think that's why it's important to use this last week to slow down. And because if this past year has just been nothing but obstacle after obstacle and rushing after rushing, man, you've had no time to process completely. And when you do process, sit down, let everything rush you over the past year, be grateful for the opportunities that you were presented. You know, be grateful for the person that you've become through those obstacles and opportunities. And that week period of you not rushing from last January 2022 to this upcoming 2023, you're going to set yourself up for so much success in 2023 when it rolls around. Like just think about if you're running late for work in the morning. You're rushing, you get out of bed, you're running around the house trying to scramble to get out the door. You're trying to make your coffee, trying to get your breakfast ready and everything. It's the same thing at the end of this year. If you just woke up a little bit earlier, if you had that breath to realize like, hey, I've got this time to do this, and this is what I'm going to do for the day. It's the same thing as this next year. Take the time to reflect, be grateful for what you've accomplished, be grateful for the person you become, and let that just ignite a fire under your ass to keep it going in 2023. Instead of going into it, you know, you had Christmas, you've spent time with friends and family and just beat yourself, like just ran yourself in the ground for the past 2 weeks. How is that going to serve you going into a year where you've already set goals for yourself and you have so much to accomplish?
It's absolutely going to light a fire underneath your ass. Nothing will more than that. It's having gratitude. Everything that you just said, it's being grateful. It's being grateful for yourself. It's being grateful for life. It's being grateful for the work that you put in. It's being grateful for the people around you. Gratitude is what lights that fire underneath your ass. And you're taking the whole week here as we move into 2023, just reflecting and being grateful for what you have done and the work that you have put in and the people that have came into your life and the opportunities that have been presented to you, even the bad ones, because those bad ones were learning lessons. You grew from those opportunities. It's being grateful for every single thing. And once you have that, it's going to light that internal fire. And that internal fire is what's going to help you dominate the next fucking year. So we need to take that time to reflect. We don't appreciate reflection enough. We don't take enough time to process our life. What's the point in living then? To be busy? If we don't take the time to process what's going on a day-to-day basis, we're just existing. We're not actually taking any of it in. And at the end of the day, what is the point? What is the point in just being busy if we're not actually going to look back and say, this is what I did. This is who I became. Well, how are you supposed to do that if you don't take the time to do so? You're just going to remain distracted all the time? Scrolling through social media, watching Netflix, having conversation after conversation just because you can't bear silence with yourself? You have to take that time to slow down and check in with yourself. Replay the past year and appreciate every single bit of it. The good, the bad, the ugly. It all served a purpose, and it's acknowledging that. And once you start to do that, you are filled with a sort of energy that is almost impossible to describe, but anyone that has felt it knows what I'm talking about. And that's why we preach gratitude so much, because it is something that fuels your internal fire.
It's fulfillment, man.
It's fulfillment.
It's life fulfillment. And that's what this is all about. Are you living a fulfilled life? And what does that look like for you?
But how do you know if you are or not if you don't take the time to check in?
You don't.
You don't.
No. There's no slowdown. There's no allowing everything that you've been through accomplished to catch up to you to think about it. It's distraction.
Well, I think that's the problem with modern culture is how do we gauge our success? It's based off materialistic items.
Monetary value.
Right. I have this house. I have this much money. I have this car. I have these many followers on Instagram, whatever it is. None of that matters. But I can just look at my house and be like, that's my house. Okay, cool. Like I don't actually have to reflect on that. That's my house. Cool, I guess. Whatever. Like it's just shelter at the end of the day. I have this car. Who gives a fuck? It gets you from point A to point B. Like none of that matters. It's the experiences that matter. But if you're just remaining distracted and busy all the time, you don't actually ever take in those experiences because you're just worried about what's next. which is good. Like, you have to balance these two. I'm not bashing that because I'm definitely that type of person as well. And that's why I have what I have in my life. That's why I've been able to build Norse into what it is. That's why you've been able to accomplish what you have in your life as well. It's because we do think about the future. There's nothing wrong with that. But every once in a while, you got to slow down. You got to be present, and you just need to take it all in. That's what it is. Those are my favorite moments in life, is whenever I just stop and I look around. And I don't do it enough. Maybe that's an intention I should set for the upcoming year, is to take more time to just slow down and appreciate everything that I have, because I don't do it very often. But when I do, I'm overwhelmed with just happiness.
And what does that do moving forward for you?
It lights a fire underneath my ass.
Right. So it's not run yourself into the ground, don't take time to reflect and see what you've come through and just continue to just do. You're gonna burn out. That's exactly what you're gonna do. If you take the time to allow everything to catch back up to you, it's almost like this infinite energy circle. Like
it is.
You
right.
sprint for a little bit. All right, well, this is what I accomplished in this little sprint. Well, shit, I'm recharged, ready to go while you're still moving the needle forward. That's what a lot of people don't get. Stopping can actually still continue to move the needle.
It moves the needle more sometimes.
It does, because of the clarity you gain from it. You're not thinking with a clouded mindset anymore. You're able to like sit there and really reflect and tell yourself like, holy shit, this is what I'm capable of. This is what I've done. Clear vision.
Well, that's the only way that we can think, is to slow down. Because think about it.
Especially today.
Right. If we're doing this podcast right now, or we're doing any sort of work, we're doing something. Well, that's where our attention is. Our attention is not on problem solving. It's not necessarily about replaying accomplishments and stuff like that. Like, we're just always thinking about something. Like, we're in the moment of doing something else. We're distracted. Even with work, that's a distraction. This podcast right now is a distraction. Is it beneficial? Is it something that we love doing? Absolutely. But in this current moment, we are not thinking necessarily. We're not reflecting right now. The only way to do that is to slow down and make that your only intention. And that is moving you forward. Yes, you're not doing anything physical necessarily, but your attention is directed towards one source, and that is the future, or it's right now. But if you're preoccupied with another activity, I guess that's what I'm trying to get at. Thinking is an activity. Effective problem solving, effective thinking, effective reflection, that is an activity on its own, and we can only do one thing at a time. We can only direct our attention towards one thing, towards one direction in the present moment.
To be very efficient with it.
To be very efficient with it. The reason that I can problem solve so effectively is because I've learned how to do so. And that's weird to think about. It's weird to be like, I learned how to think. But that's exactly what it is. I take time every day to think, either if it's with meditation or my nightly walks. I'm reflecting. I'm taking time to do nothing but think. I'm not on my phone. I'm not talking to anybody. I'm just paying attention to what's going on up there. I'm observing my thoughts with intention. I'm directing all of my conscious awareness to my mind. Okay, where are we at? Where do we want to go? How are we going to get there? What are we doing right now that isn't serving us? Maybe you're doing that right now. Maybe you've been doing shit for the past year or your entire life that is not serving you, but because you have not taken the time to slow down and reflect and actually examine what's going on with you in your life, you don't change it. You're doing shit that doesn't serve you. That's important. But how do we get to that point? How do we discover those things? You have to take the time to do it. You have to deliberately ask yourself, what am I doing that is not serving me? What can I eliminate from my life that's going to allow me to move forward, to help me become a better person, that's going to allow me to be a better parent or partner or friend? What actions do I need to take to become the best version of myself. That's not going to happen while you're working or while we're doing this podcast or something of the sort. You have to take the time to actually put your attention towards that problem and come to a conclusion with it. You cannot do that if you're distracted by so many other things. I talk about meditation all the time. I know it's not for everybody, but that's why I think meditation is so beneficial, is because it's the only time that you can really check in with yourself. You have no other options. Your eyes are closed and you're just observing what's going on in there. And that's why people can't do it. It's because they have to be distracted. They can't deal with themselves. They get too anxious. Well, in those moments of being anxious, you have to lean into it. You have to stop and observe what's going on. Because what do we do when we get anxious or when we're depressed or any of these less desirable emotions and traits that we have? We distract ourselves. We pull out our phone. It's on a subconscious level. I catch myself doing it as well. So this isn't me like talking shit. This is just me observing myself and realizing that these are traits that I have and how I deal with shit, and it's not beneficial. Say I'm feeling a little anxious. I'm pulling out my phone. I'm compulsively scrolling through social media. I'm might be like partaking in shit that I shouldn't be, like smoking or drinking or something like that. And it's because like, fuck, I can't deal with reality right now. I need to block it out. That's not how you deal with it. You're just putting a Band-Aid over it. Like the only way to deal with these internal problems is to fucking lean into it. And that's going to suck. But you have to sit there with it and be like, this is the reality of my life right now. This is who I am. And I do not like it. I want to become someone different. Well, how am I going to get there? What steps do I need to take to become a better person? But until you take the time to actually do that deliberately and with attention, it's not going to happen. But people, they don't want to do that. I spent 29 years of my life avoiding that. there's no way I could sit in silence. When I started meditating, it was like 3 minutes and I thought it was miserable, but I stuck with it. I was anxious as fuck. I can't stop moving. I'm worse about it now than I've ever been in my entire life. We went to the zoo the other day, or Ilva, my dog. She's a prime example. Ilva does never stop. She's always pacing. And when I got Ilva, I was watching her. I'm like, that's exactly how I am. I can't sit still. Like I'm always pacing back and forth. It's not necessarily a good thing. So when I go to meditate, like that's the hardest thing for me is to sit there, but I still force myself to do it because I'm having to check in. Right. But to wrap this up, this episode, take the next week to reflect. It's okay. It's okay to slow down. You're still moving forward. You're still doing all this stuff. It's very important. And it is going to help you in the long run because you're going to recharge your system. You're going to calm your mind. And if you have a calm mind and you have positive energy rushing through you, you will accomplish whatever you want to in this life.
Thank you for listening to another episode of The Norse Mentality. This podcast is a byproduct of Norse Fitness. We make clothing, fitness accessories, supplements, and other tools to help you reach your true potential. You can check it out at norsefitness.co. And if you found this episode beneficial, please share it with a friend. That way we can continue to make a bigger impact and change the world. Thank you for your support, and we'll talk to you soon.